Okay, well, it's been a long time since I've put a video out. It's been the summer here in the UK, lovely summer, and so not too much wargaming. But over that time, I've been having a look at various different things, including 1 hour wargames. So why am I having a look at these rules? Well, what I like to do is to try and put out quite a few different videos for different players. I know I play solo, but I play lots of different games, and I saw the 1 hour wargames book by Neil Thomas. I then had a look at the skirmish wargames option, and very similar, but just gave you other options about playing with individual figures, so maybe between a dozen to 20, and I thought that might well work here, particularly in this sort of jungle setting. So I thought I'd try and do it as well. It's a solo game, so you'll notice I also bought the Solo Wargaming Guide. Now that's a book that's supposed to add to your existing rules, so it gives you some options as well. So I'll put on the description at the end of the video for all three of this, and or three of these I should say. So this is the table, and what we're going to do is to play a game here where the NVA are trying to mine this bank, if you like, this bank across the river to stop American forces infiltrating this area, landing with their boats and troops to come across and try and make it their area. So I'll go into a bit of detail, show you the forces. Let's have a look how it goes, and I'll explain how the game works as we go. Super simple and ideally relatively quick. Now I do want to mention also before we start the joy of wargaming. You'll see on the image now, it's a picture of the YouTube channel. There's a couple of really good descriptors about how to play the skirmish games, and really a couple of good funny videos, so I'd recommend them, and thanks very much for putting an explanation about how to play. So if you want to learn how to play in a bit more detail, you can follow those particular videos, but let's just stick here to this particular game. So just briefly go into the game itself. You'll see various images as we go. Sometimes I think it's a bit difficult to see in amongst the jungle the clarity of the figures, but what we have is an NVA section. We've got 3 fire teams. On the left hand side we've got the one with its anti-tank rocket. In the centre got one of the leaders, and we've also got a light machine gun, and on the right hand side we've got a rifle team, but with it we've got an engineer section. So what's the game? So the idea here is that we're going to play this skirmish game where the NVA are advancing across this area. The aim is to get towards these 3 sections and try as much as they can to lay down mines. So they want to lay down mines across the bank of this particular river in order to stop the Americans keep coming across with boats and infiltrating the area. Now this is how the Americans are causing a problem. They keep landing sections here, which are then advancing into this area and trying to clear out any potential NVA or Viet Cong and set up their own defensive positions. So it means that the NVA can't get all the way along to the edge of the river and harass this fortified area. So we've got an American unit here. I've got a combination. If we look just at the back, I've just got a rifle unit there with M16s. I've got one with a grenade launcher. The front here we've got a light machine gun. Also got a medic, an officer, and we've got a radio man as well. Now what we don't have is a deployment area. So I'm going to roll for each 4 of those units. We're going to roll for these 6 grids. You should be able to see here. Top left is 1, going down 1, 2, 3. Top right is 4, 5, and finally 6. I think this might be the only time I roll dice in the game. Here we go. Okay, 2 at 3, 1 and 5. So there you have it. This is the 3 here. You'll see both units are now moving forward. So we've got the machine gun team and also the officer with the radio, and we've also got the medic at the back unit there advancing, and then we've got the unit at the front also advancing. So with no further ado, we've got our NVA at the other end advancing. Let's see how this 1 hour war game actually works. Okay, so let's make a start. And the first thing to tell you is that you'll see on the screen there is a statistic, which is the morale of both the NVA and the Americans is 3. So it's just a figure to remember, that a morale of 3. So what you can see in front of you are 2 decks of cards, and the game is going to be played through drawing the cards. The top one, at the top of the river, is going to be the NVA. The one nearest to you is the American card. Now, rather than explain all elements of the rules as we go, I'm just going to play it, and hopefully you should be able to pick this up straight away as we go. Really simple. So the first thing we're going to look at is initiative. Let's draw the first cards. Okay, 5 of hearts. Okay, and the jack means that the Americans have the initiative for the first turn. Next card is how many actions do they have? Okay, and the way we would work through here, we'll go from 1 to 10, and then jack would be 11, and queen is 12. Now movement is 6 inches in areas where you can move, so we're just going to move between the jungle areas, and when we finish they're going to try and be in cover. I've got 14 figures in total. I've got 12 actions, so 12 of the 14 logically can move up to 6 inches. And of the remaining 4 that I've got, these 4 have moved up here, so that the machine gun team has got a field of fire in this direction. So that's the completion of the American phase. And now the NVA. Right. Joker means it is the end of that turn, and we shuffle the deck once more. So we've got turn 2. And so first, see about the initiative. I've got a 5 for the NVA. Jack, so again it's the Americans, and let's have a look at number of actions. Oh, again, exactly the same. So obviously didn't shuffle them particularly well, but there we go. So we've got another 12 for the Americans. So with the 12 actions, I've moved the unit here in the middle across. Sorry, all taking some cover. On the left hand side, move these 4 up so they can get around the wider position, and finally moving all the way back here so that we've still got this area of fire. Got the machine gun in position, but one infantryman has moved up, and then behind them the officer, radio and medic has moved up, so that's the full actions. Now NVA, they get moving. 5 actions. So with the 5 actions I've moved 3 infantry, the leader at the start there, and also we've got that local guide has moved forward for the engineers. Okay, who's got initiative this time? Oh, it's another Joker, so it's the end of the turn. Turn 3 and initiative. NVA with a 10. Another queen, so therefore it's the Americans for the 3rd time. This time they've only got 2 actions. Now I've got 2 actions, so my intention here is to use a scout team to move forward. Now I'm moving this figure forward. There is a direct line of sight between themselves and both the leader and indeed the guide at the back there. So we've taken one action to move, and then we can also shoot. So just to explain is that you are able to have multiple actions. You can move and then fire, but if you fired first you can't then move. That's the sort of process. If however you wanted to move more than once, it would take 3 actions for the second move and 5 for the third. But in this situation I've moved once for 1 action, and then I'm going to fire here directly at the leader. As it happens, I am going to say that the leader is in soft cover. To resolve this, we draw 1 card for the attacker, and we then draw 2 for the defender because it's in light cover, discarding the lower of the 2. So let's see what the American attacker gets. Okay, we've got a 7 of hearts, and here we can draw 2 cards, 5 and a 9, so we'll keep the 9. So that's resolved because the 9 beats the 7, and therefore it's a miss, and we move on to the NVA phase. What happens in the NVA phase? What actions has he got? Oh, it's another joker. So as a consequence, it's the end of the turn, and we need to shuffle again. New turn. So look about the initiative. Just a 1 for the NVA. Definitely the Americans' turn first. How many actions? All right, so we've got what have we got there? 13. Now, if we remember from the last phase, you can move more than once, but once you start firing, you can't move. So we need to have a think about what we want to do logically, whether we advance and start engaging this unit over there, or perhaps withdraw. I'm going to continue to advance with this unit on the left-hand side, see if they need to be ultimately in action. That's 4 actions of the 13. I'll advance this individual out of the potential line of fire over there. But in doing so, he's in the line of fire of the NVA at the back there. You can just see them, and therefore it's another action, but we're also going to fire. I'm going to say that although it's a line of sight, both parties are somewhat obscured. So I'm going to say I'll just move that slightly nearer to that figure there so you can see which one we're talking about. So that's the target there, and I'm going to say that for the defender, for example, if they fire back at this, we'll have two cards. But we start off with the American firing. So we've got a queen, and then for the 2 cards for the MVA, 7 and a jack. So in this situation the man's down. So at the moment I've used 6 actions, 5 moves and 1 fire. I'm going to move these 3 men to take it up to 9, and I think I'm going to be able to fire with one of them also. These 3 have advanced, and the man in the middle is going to fire at that leader once again. I'm going to say there's light cover. Now another king though for the Americans, so we've got 2 cards, 3 and an 8, so the leader is down. Okay, so the leader is down over here, and I've now got 3 actions left. The other action I'm going to do is I'm going to move this man for the 2nd time, but this time it's 3 actions for the 2nd move, so I'm going to move him into cover over here, and that's 13 in total. So NVA, what actions have we got? 4. Right, so I've now moved 2 men, so that's 2 of the 4 actions, and both are going to fire. 2 targets, these 2 men here. So the one on the left hand side is in the open, the one on the right hand side gets a bit of light cover. 1 to 1 in the open, NVA with a 6. That's a miss. 2nd shot against the American in the light cover, this time it's a jack. The best of 2 cards, a 7 and a 4. Now that's a hit. So in this case the American has gone down, and we need to go to the next phase to look at initiative. King. 2, so definitely NVA has the initiative. Let's see how many actions. 5 actions. Move this man in line to be able to fire at the American in the open. I'm going to fire with that man there. We have 5 actions in total, so we've got a move and fire, and a fire, and then we need 2 other actions. And here I've moved a man into the open so we can take a shot at the American there. I'm going to start with that new one. On the left hand side, it's in the open. It's only a 5 for the NVA, a 5 there for the American. Now, according to the rules, if we have equals, we follow what would be the bridge players, essentially alphabetical order. So hearts beat diamonds, therefore the American is hit and goes down. I have 2 men down in this area. Firing here again in the open. VA draws a 6. American an 8, so that's a miss. And these 2 again, I think, in the open. Only a 2 for the NVA. Looks a poor shot. But it's an ace. The American goes down. So we've got a problem for this advanced unit. 3 men have gone down as the NVA begin to press on. So we're over to the Americans with their actions. How many actions do we have? The Americans just 4. So I've moved 2 men up, of which 1, although he's a grenade launcher, he'll have a pistol. 2 will fire at this man here, and then we've got these 2, and the American will fire there. So we've got 2 moves, which are 2 actions, and then 2 firing, which is 2 further actions. The man with a pistol. Joker. Right. The whole thing stops, and we need to have a look at our people who are on the floor. Okay, well, we've got 2 men down here. We've got the one of the officers, and also we've got one of the infantry. Let's draw this. Essentially what happens is if we draw on the cards, we draw a black card, up they get, red, they're removed. The officer first. And he's killed and removed, as is the second figure. The Americans, we have 3. Let's see what's happening to them. First one, we'll say on the left hand side, gets up, as does his buddy. And the third. Effectively happened over here is that when we had the firing, they took some cover, and they're back into action. Now, just before we go to the next phase, you'll have noticed that we had casualties, and at the end of any turn both sides would take a morale test. Now, we don't need to when we haven't had any casualties at all, and the Americans indeed haven't taken any here. The NVA, however, have. They've taken 2 casualties. Now, it's pretty simple. What we need to do is to draw a card and exceed the level of casualties, and you'll remember also that in terms of morale, both sides have a morale of 3. So we've taken 2 casualties, we've got a morale of 3. Obviously the NVA are going to pass, but let's just go through the process about what we would need to do, just to be super simple. And let's say, for example, if we are later in the game and we've taken, say, 8 casualties, what would that be? So all we would be doing is drawing the card itself. If we had 8 casualties, then we could take a look, and there, if it was a king, we'd be fine, we would exceed it. However, alternatively, if we drew, well, an ace, then we would be below the numbers, and it would be an immediate end to the game. Now, what is quite interesting is the fact that we can have a situation where, you know, we are drawing from the cards, and we might, for example, have the NVA taking lots of casualties and the Americans only a few. However, it's still possible that they look to withdraw for whatever reasons or motivation. That's a possibility. So it's highlighting really that the game isn't done until we draw the cards. So let's shuffle the decks once more and move into the next turn. Okay, next turn and initiative. We've got NVA with a king and a king again. So Remember, if we're looking at the way we're looking at it from an alphabetical point of view, or bridge, whichever, hearts beats diamonds, so it's the Americans to go first. So let's have a look at the initiative. And a queen. There's lots of activity there. I'll just add one point, is that you can make this game into whatever way you wish. So what you might do, if you've got equal cards, you might do perhaps a random event, something like that. So you might roll a dice for that if you wanted to, or another card, or what have you. So loads of ways in which you can develop it. I'm just taking it here directly from the book. Now, just to stand back for a minute, just to say what I'm going to do in terms of the Americans is I'm going to try and inflict some more casualties in the middle. We've got some targets over there, and on the line on the left hand side, depending on the outcome of these attacks, I'm going to move into hand-to-hand combat there on the left hand side, on the left flank. 13 actions, I'm going to look to move this unit further forward. What I've done is to hold it in a position to see if the NVA are going to advance into this open space. However, there's lots of action taking place, so we want to see whether we need to support with a medic and with the officer, so we're going to move that unit further forward. But let's start in the middle. Let's start with the firing. Let's start along this line, firing at the NVA, not got any cover, so it's just a straight single card. The American, the king, defender. No, they'll go down. That man's down there. Two men with line of sight, both in the open. So these two figures first of all. American firing. Queen. And now we've got a joker, so the turn immediately stops. Although it's a high card, there's no casualties. We stop at that point. Now we must take a morale test. We've got 3 casualties, and the card needs to exceed it. So we've got 3 to add in terms of the morale, but let's see what our card would be. Okay, well, it's a 5, so with 3 to add, it would be an 8. Obviously, we need more casualties than that, but this is where we begin to get a situation where we might ultimately draw the game to a conclusion. Just have one man down, so we need to see whether it's a casualty or whether he gets up. And he's killed. Just want to point out a subtlety of the game here, which I failed to do there. If you remember, I had 13 actions for the Americans, and the very first thing I did was to fire to see, and the reason why I did that is to start by firing, because then it would make a conclusion about whether I attacked with this unit on the left hand side. However, what it meant is that I was going to draw cards which brought the turn to an end. What I should have done, if it was thinking about it with a bit of reflection, is actually move this unit up first. I wouldn't have had to have drawn a card. I could have moved the men into the position I wanted them, and then I could have fired. Now, by firing first, all that's happened is I've ended the turn, and therefore this unit that was going to move isn't. Initiative 9 for the NVA. So, NVA to go first. Lots of options here with 13 actions. As I mentioned on the last turn, I could fire here with the NVA, which I'm going to. However, the sensible thing is to move troops here in the centre and on the the right hand side to me, but the left hand side to the NVA, so I don't need to draw any cards, and from that I can then fire after I've moved. Okay, 13 actions. I've moved 3 men there. 1, 2, 3. I have moved 3 men here. 4, 5, 6. And at the back, which I'm sure you can't see, there's 2 men behind the it's the engineers, 2 engineers behind the jungle, and 1 man further forward. So in terms of movement, we've moved 9. I'm now going to fire, and I'm going to fire with the 2 men here in the open where they've been firing beforehand. I'm also going to fire with this light machine gun. I'm going to show you how it's slightly different from semi-automatic weapons, and I've also got a man here. So 4 firing. Start over on this side. NVA 10 to the Americans 5. Joker. Again, we could have a morale test, but we know that the NVA are going to pass that with only 3 casualties so far. So I can get a chance to use the light machine gun. The only casualty we've got is over here, so let's see what the consequence is. Killed, or does he just get up? Up he gets. Also to mention that you can play this with just a single deck cards, quite obviously, because in that situation then we would just take it from the same cards and do so. But I like to play this with 2 because we're then making a distinction in terms of to the 2 different sides, make that a little more interesting. So let's start off with the NVA. See who has initiative. So we've got a queen. Nice, so definitely the NVA first. 6 actions. I've got 4 people to fire, and I am going to fire first because it's going to make an impact on which movement I actually make next. So I'm going to start by firing with the light machine gun at this infantryman in the open. Okay, so the light machine gun has 2 cards. So we draw 2 cards. We've got a queen to the 10, so the American goes down. Now I could, if I had a second target, I could draw a card to fire another target, but I don't. It's simply that one, so that man goes down. Now that moved 3 men forward, and the man at the front there is right against the man who's gone down, and I'm going to see how we resolve that shortly. Again, I'm going to fire 1 to 1, these 2 men firing in the open. NVA with a 4. That's a miss. Second man firing. 6 to an 8. Again, it's a miss. We've had the NVA action. Americans have 7. Over here, conscious that his body's gone down, I'm going to move this man into here. Again, realising now the situation, circumstance, we're going to get some hand-to-hand fighting. Right, close combat is resolved immediately, and the attacker draws 2 cards, getting rid of the lowest, and the defender 1. 2 cards for the American. Not great. Ace and a 9. The defender to 3, and defender's immediately removed. So you'll notice here that it isn't a question of going down. This is immediately removed from the game. Also not sure whether that's counted as an action, so I'm going to say it is, and I'm going to say that they also can't fire from there. I'm sure I'll post this on the Facebook group. There might be a suggestion here, but immediately I'm just going to say that the time that they've taken is to fight. So I'm going to say I've used a couple of actions so far. I've got 5 remaining actions. I'm going to continue with this firing here because it's going to determine what I do on the left hand side there, whether I go into close combat or not. Americans, the 2 Americans firing here, so I've got 5 actions left. Here's 2. Queen from the American. 7, so first man goes down. 7 and a 10, so 1 goes down. Over here I've moved 1 man into close combat, so I had 3 actions left, so there's 1 used. Second man into position, so that's 2 actions, and we'll see how this is resolved. An attacker with 2 cards. 4 and 2 is killed. Now I did say that combat was an action. I do think it's an action, so therefore this man who's moved into position to be able to fire can't fire, and we go to the NVA for their initiative. NVA actions, do we? 7. What I'm going to do is fire this light machine gun at this man here. 5 to a 3. Both men are now down. I'm going to say that these 2 men move into these two prone figures, and I'm going to say it forces them to surrender. So whichever way we look at this, I'm going to say that the two Americans are withdrawn from the game. I would have used 3 of 7 actions. I'm going to use that one over there. So the 4th action is going to fire in the open at this individual. 8. It's 2. And this American goes down. Now remember, I can't fire and then move because I would have moved him into a position with that figure now prone. But in this situation he can't do because he's fired. Now if I wanted one of those two figures to move, it would be 3, so that would be all of the other actions, so I can't move into a position to fire. I'm also thinking about the fact that they engaged with those 2 prone figures, so I'm going to think that that was an action by both realistically. So I'm going to say that rather than 3, I'm going to say I've got 1 single action remaining. That's the action, with the man moving into that position. The phases didn't end, so we go again to see who has the initiative for the next phase. 3 for the NVA, 4 for the Americans. How many actions can the Americans use? 10. I've moved these 2 men into light cover to fire at that man who seems almost impossible to hit, so they're both going to have a go and try and knock him out. I want to note that it's the nearest man I'm going to fire first with. But it's the Joker, and we need to end the turn. So we've got a Joker. The turn ends, but what we need to test first of all is morale, and I point this out because now that we have a sufficient number of casualties, we could have a game ending. So what we do is, before we look at the troops that are downed, we have to look at morale first of all. I'm going to draw a card. Now the Americans have 3 casualties, the morale is 3, so they're going to be over what have you. Oh sorry, I'm looking at the wrong ones. But I'll still draw the card, so they're way over. NVA however have 4 casualties. They need to exceed it, so you get +3 on this, but if it's an ace, the game is over. It's a 4, and we continue. Continuing, we can now look at the 2 downed figures. We've got an NVA and an American. NVA, up he gets. American is killed. I think it's good to take a step back here. This is a really pretty quick game. I know the video is going on a little longer because I'm trying to explain as we go in the game here, but if we just want to have a think, we've got our American force. We've got a unit here at the back holding its position. We've got action ahead and starting to take casualties. Possibility of the MVA pushing through into this open area. We've still got these engineers up on the right hand side, but they're getting a little bit more resistance. However, it started to break through on the left hand side with the Americans taking casualties, and so with both sides losing 4 men so far, it's absolutely all to play for. So let's carry on. Right, who has the initiative? 7 for the NVA. 2. So we've got initiative with the NVA. 7 actions. First 2 movements has been these 2 men into position, and the nearest to them will fire. This man firing. Jack. American 7, so he goes down. I've used 3 actions so far. I'm going to move this man here 6 inches to that one. It's 3 actions in that second move, so I've used 6, and I'm going to say that we remove the American from the battlefield as another action, and that's the end of the NVA phase. The Americans, how many actions can they make? 6. I feel that this man is very much exposed, and I need to withdraw him and get some kind of support over here with those 2 men. Used 4 actions to move 12 inches with this man here. However, we've got 2 actions left, so I'm going to move this man next to him outwards and to fire in the open at that individual. So we've got a cover, but we've got a fire here from the American at the NVA. 7. and a 3, so the man goes down. Both the Americans and the NVA have gone, so we now test for initiative. 8 for the NVA, and an ace for the Americans, so the NVA will go first. And they've got 13 actions. Okay, with 13 actions, I've moved a lot of movement, so I'll just summarise where we've got to. I've got 2 infantrymen there behind the jungle. I moved up the light machine gun, so that was 4 actions. Moving further across, I had one of the leaders move. On the far left hand side, the engineers have moved up, which is the order of what we're trying to do, and gaining support with that individual. And we've moved 1 man here, and he's going to fire, so he'll fire at that target. That'll be 13 actions in total. NVA firing, that's an ace, that's a miss. Again for initiative. Queen for the NVA. So the NVA have the initiative and 6 actions. NVA going for broke. We've got 2 men here. The open firing. The Americans actually realised that we also have a line of sight with the light machine gun. So the light machine gun can fire, so that's another action. And over here, got a repeat of that firing there. So we've got 4 firings, that's 4 actions, and I had 2 movements, 6 in total. Over there, firing on that individual. NVA is a queen to an 8. The man down. Machine gun gets 2 cards. 2 cards for the light machine gun. 4 and a 7 is nothing. 6 and an ace is a man down. These 2 are firing at these 2. I'm going to say both are in light cover. First NVA is a 3, so we can draw up to 2 cards. A 9 is fine. At the back is the man who's under fire. The NVA card is a 7. 2 cards, and that's fine. American initiative. 13 actions. I've got 13 actions, and I'm going to start over here. We've got a man down, so I'm going to take this figure and move, that's 1 action, to the man who's prone, and then we're going to drag him into cover. So another 3 actions, so it's going to be a minimum of 4. The other man here, I'm going to move back into this area so he can fire. At the moment, 5 actions in total. On this side, the man with the pistol is going to move to the man who's gone down again to get protection, or to see if we can give that individual protection, so that will be 6 actions where he finishes. Action 7 is to move this figure here forward so he's in a position to fire where he finishes, and the man here on the right hand side to move slightly left again, so giving him an opportunity to fire. That takes us in terms of actions to 8. Say that the one on the right hand side, we've had 8 actions. I'm just going to say that there's an element of being obscured for that man, so where the defender will have 2 cards when we come to it. Finally, I'm going to move the medic up 6 inches. Completes that, so that's 9 actions. So now I can fire, and a total of the 3 men here, and the 1 man over on that side, which is where we will start. Let's hope we don't draw a, well, from the American point of view, a joker. We've got a 3, NVA 10, so it's a miss. And we've got 2 men with an M16, and then a machine gun in the middle, but he's only got a line of sight to 1 man, although we can shoot at him twice because you get 2 shots. So let's start with a man at the back. Standard M16, 4, NVA Jack, so it's a miss. We can then go to the machine gun. First one is a 4. Again, it's a miss, but we have a second shot. 2. That's a miss, and this time the final man was the 3rd, which is a 3. Now we had 2 defensive, well, we only need 1. Some very poor shooting in the end from the Americans, so the NVA here are still fine, and on the other side we had the man firing. Let's move over, it's really quite hard to see, I appreciate. Over there, we missed that man, so we need to go back again and look at initiative. NVA, first of all, so 2. 2 also, what have we got here? We've got diamonds and spades, so it's actually the Americans who have the initiative. And we've got 4 actions. With 4 actions, I'm going to repeat exactly what I did beforehand. So we've got 3 men to fire here and 1 over on the other side, and presumably the Americans can't draw as bad a set of cards as they did a moment ago. Let's start on the far side. 16 is a 10. But it's a queen. Starting with the man on the left hand side. Joker. That's the end of the turn. Right, so the Americans couldn't fire or take advantage of being able to fire. Now we've got to do our morale test first of all. Now, just to be clear, I've used incorrect terms previously. We have a motivation figure of 3 for both the Americans and for the NVA, so we add 3 to the card that we draw. In terms of actual casualties, the Americans have 5 and the NVA 4. So we just need, as far as the NVA is concerned, we need to draw a 2. The Americans, we need a 3. Start with the Americans. King, that's fine for their morale. NVA just avoid an ace, I think. That's a 9, so again they're fine. So they're fine to continue, but we also have men down, so we need to see whether they are saved or not. 2 Americans, 1 here and 1 on the far side. Starting in with the far side, he gets back up. There's 2's. It's also a card, so they will get back up. 1 for the NVA, and he's killed. We're coming into turn 9, and this is going to be a 1 hour war game, so I'm going to make sure we do so. In terms of the 2 sides, they both had 5 men removed, and in terms of the position, the NVA are advancing. They've got a good position in terms of the centre. However, the engineers haven't really advanced, which is the aim of the game, and on the left hand side we've got a very strong American position. So we're going into turn 9. I'm going to make a conclusion of it by the end of turn 10. We'll see how we go by then. So we've got the start of turn 9, looking at initiative. Unlikely to be the NVA with an ace. Oh, we have that. So actually it is. So spades beat diamonds. The top card, and they've got 10 actions. So I've started with my movement. I have moved the light machine gun. Oh, that's 1 action. Leader, just see there, that's 2 actions. He's advanced. On the far side, I'll just move it closer so you can see it. We've advanced with our engineers, the guide, and with the support rifleman. So we've got 6 actions in total to that point. Fire here for 7, and 3 men will fire here to take us up to 10. Right, the light machine gun can hit 2 men, because we get 2 shots with it. And see how it goes on with the man at the in front, and then the man behind. Joker. It's the end of turn 9. End of turn 9, so we need to do a morale test. Both sides have lost 5 men, so we get 3 for motivation. So in both cases, if either of them draw an ace or a 2, the game is over for them. The American card. Nope, they're fine to continue. Where are we here with the NVA? I'm trying to make sure it's the last card. There we go. That's a 3, only just, but that's enough. So we're going to go into the final turn, and it's turn 10. So let's have a look at the initiative. 3, 7, so it's the Americans who have the initiative, but only have one action. With one action, I think the sensible one is to fire and see if we can knock out that light machine gun. The M16 will fire. 8, and for the light machine gun, 10, so no impact. So for initiative, we move over to the NVA. 5 actions. Right, one move over here, so that's one action of the 5, and I'm going to fire, so that would be 2 actions. I'm going to fire the light machine gun, which will be 3 actions, and then I've got another 2 over here, which would make it 5. Over here in the far part of the board, NVA is 10, the American 4, man down. Light machine gun again has 2 shots. Man there's 2, so we've got a jack, a 10, so man down. 2 shots. King, a joker. End of the game. Now we've come to the end of turn 10. I'm going to say that's the end of the game in terms of time. So the aim of the game, the operation, was for the engineers to get into a position to mine, and they can't really do that. However, I'm not going to say that it's we're concluded yet, because what we haven't tested is morale. So if we're going to have a morale test, and if the Americans fail and the NVA are okay, we're going to say it's an NVA victory. Test the American morale. King, it's fine. And for completeness, we'll have the NVA 8, so it was okay. Just going to see what the situation was with these 2 men who've gone down. First is fine, as is the second. And that's it. That's the end of the game. I'm going to say that the Americans have interrupted the NVA, held them back in that position. The engineers haven't advanced suitably, and so to save the engineers, the NVA are going to withdraw, and we're going to say it is an American victory. Right, so that's my first game for the 1 Hour Skirmish Wargames, and thanks very much for comments in advance from John and all those in the 1 Hour Skirmish Wargame Facebook group. I have to say I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the game. I think it was really simple and flexible. I think you play a really good, genuine war game. Enjoyed it. It's a solo player, but I still thought it really worked well. I didn't add in some elements, so you can add special skills to individuals, and indeed you can have, if you go on the Facebook group, people have posted good detail in terms of games for particular periods, including the Vietnam War game, and I'll add something at the end of this video so you can see which one that is. For me, again, this game is really great, so if you've enjoyed it, please put some comments on the Facebook group or here on the YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed, now's your time just to subscribe and join the Wargaming World YouTube channel. And thanks for all those who have subscribed and come back with great comments and thoughts. And we'll see you next time. Thanks very much.